So we're here with our next generation team, and yes, this is all of us. um, it used to be that it was the youth minister, and then we hired a children's minister, and then I gave up my duties as children's minister. I never had those as youth minister, and passed them on. And now I get to work with these guys and vision cast and theorize, and it's just a lot of fun. For me, it's a lot of work for them sometimes, I think. But it's good. It's all good. But as you've noticed, we're in this odd season, right? That's all we can call it. I mean, COVID-19 has thrown us all for a loop. You guys are experiencing it. We're experiencing it. And it has changed the way in which we have to do church in many ways. We have to wear masks, and we have to enter and exit through specific doors and all that kind of stuff, on top of washing our hands and using sanitizer. But it has changed the way we do the next generation ministry. And the way we do that, the way we work with kids, has been affected by everything, all of these changes, and also has changed because of the way our families, that's you guys, have adjusted to this. So specifically, the children's ministry has experienced some things. The student ministry has experienced some things. And I wanted to talk to these guys. I wanted to talk to you guys. And I wanted to just get an idea of how that's going for you all. What's it been like? What's been your experience? Some of the things that maybe these guys haven't seen or maybe hadn't noticed just yet. Christy, how's this affected children's ministry?
Yeah, so I would say that without kids in the building, it's a lot different when I know the kids are at home and figuring out what parents are able to do. I think that a lot of children's pastors kind of were getting together and helping each other out online early on and giving each other ideas and motivating each other because, like everything, no one's done this before. And so we're kind of feeling our way as we go, kind of throwing things on the wall to see what sticks and what people like. So I think another thing too is that the opportunity that parents had of slowing down maybe gave some of you a feeling like, oh, maybe I do have time to try some of these things, or I can do this. And so finding ways to encourage parents and resource them in that has kind of been my focus.
So when we opened up back in June, different things happened. Different people came and went and tested things out. What's attendance? I mean, that's one of the things we notice. What's attendance been like for you guys?
Right. So attendance at church has been very small for the kids' life, for the nursery through 5th grade. However, I would also say that what I'm hearing from parents at home is that their activation at home is still really great. So that's awesome. Been very encouraging.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, what's it been like for student ministry?
Yes, I mean, especially early on, the adjustment was, okay, what do we do now? Because we're all at home.
Right.
So what do we actually have to do? And so especially early on to it, it was a lot of just Zoom calls, social media interaction, and then just touching base with students too, of just kind of like, hey, how's it going? Especially ones that we may not
You mean
hear
students
from.
are on social media?
Yeah,
oh, that's
they
okay.
are.
I just didn't know.
I even tried a TikTok. There's only 2 videos on it, and they're both embarrassing to me. So gave that one a shot. But yeah. So yeah, early on it was a lot of that, and then just like checking in with students, especially if we're not seeing them on the Zoom, because especially later on we started to see a lot of Zoom fatigue because they were all dealing with school on Zoom and other video conferencing like platforms, and so they just kind of, one more thing was a little bit much for Zoom eventually. So early on that was definitely the big thing, but then now we've adjusted kind of back into the building. It's been interesting. A lot of students came that I didn't really fully expect at first, because our attendance is basically back up to what it was before the pandemic.
Okay.
There's still a handful that aren't here regularly, but they'll still, even the ones that aren't here regularly, still come every now and then. So our attendance is pretty much back to what it is, and so now the adjustment is like, okay, how do we do all this safely? How do we make sure we're doing the ministry safely? How do we return to Tribe safely? Right. We can't use the buses yet. How does that look like? How do we adjust Tribe to not being able to really go anywhere without parents dropping them off? And so it's definitely been an adjustment here now that we've gotten back to the building.
So, when you guys, what do you guys make of the difference between student ministry? There's more kids coming to the building. Children's ministry, there's less. Sounds like there's more engagement at home. Sounds like there's probably, I guess we haven't addressed it much, but it sounds like there's a little less at home with teenagers. What do you think the difference is between those two arenas?
I think the biggest difference with students is since they were off from school, they couldn't see anybody there, and then they have a little bit more autonomy than maybe some of the younger kids do because they're kind of strapped to what their parents are going to do and where they're going to go. And so especially as the students, they wanted to just come and be with each other. And so that's especially been our focus early on, is just like, okay, how do we just reconnect this? How do we just kind of get everybody back together, catch up, kind of process through what the pandemic, how it's done to them emotionally or physically, and just kind of really process through some of that stuff. So it's been a lot of just reconnection for us is the big thing.
Yeah.
So I would add that I think for families bringing their children and students, for a parent, I think they feel a lot more confident that their teenager is going to be able to follow some of the protocols, and maybe a little more concerned that their younger students can't or won't or shouldn't.
Right.
So I think that probably, along with, myself having teenagers, my teenagers were begging to get back here, to be with their friends, to experience some of the small group stuff that they were experiencing beforehand. But I can see for parents with a younger child that, we don't really know how they're going to behave, and I don't know that I want to risk that right now. Yeah,
if it's not my kids who are getting sick, I'm afraid some parents are going to think my kids are getting you sick. It's just this weird, circle. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you're holding a box.
I am.
You're holding a box. What is this box, and what's it got to do with the pandemic?
Well, so I noticed that parents had some time to do some stuff, and that they were engaging some of the online stuff that we were sending out. And I knew that our sermon series was going to be Sermon on the Mount. And I was just trying to imagine a way that alongside the materials that they have for preschool and elementary that's part of our curriculum, would parents be interested in kind of engaging with their kids on what they are hearing in the sermons here at church, whether they're here in the building or watching it online? And so I kind of envisioned an opportunity to resource kids with materials that would kind of match what mom and dad are watching on the sermon series. And so we created these Sermon on the Mount Kids Life Kits that are for September, October, and November. I'm excited to give them. They're really designed for the kids to kind of take ownership and do it with just a little bit of help from mom and dad. But mostly the idea is that the kids will see what's in here and want to engage with it. So
elementary school and preschool, or just elementary? Yeah,
preschool
awesome.
And elementary.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So you don't have a box. So what's going on in student ministry like that?
Yeah, so same thing along the lines of the Sermon on the Mount. So kind of what we're doing right now is we're going to have daily devotionals going out on social media.
Okay.
And so students will hopefully see those on Facebook stories, Instagram stories, those kind of things. And so they're able to kind of walk through the Sermon on the Mount kind of like one verse at a time, really, is what it's been broken down to.
Okay.
And alongside that, here coming very soon, I actually finally have a date to film with a few students. So yay,
awesome.
I wrangled some students together. But we're going to have some videos coming up here that will come out kind of midweek.
Yeah.
And then those will be kind of bridges between the previous Sunday to the next Sunday that they can kind of a student teaching to other students about this. So like home group leaders, parents, look for these videos because they're hopefully going to be a great resource to help along with the Sermon on the Mount series that we're doing. Because we're doing the same thing in student ministry. We're doing a 12-week teaching series.
Okay.
Ours is called Right Side Up, Kingdom in an Upside Down World, so a little bit different of a title. But it's the same exact thing. We're walking through the Sermon on the Mount at the same pace that the church is. So.
Kind of a Stranger Things theme, right?
Yeah, a little bit of Stranger
that's really
Things,
cool.
to flip the world, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, yeah.
If parents or anybody is not subscribed to his Instagram channel, I've been following it, and they're really great.
Yeah, they're really
they
good.
are really good.
They're really awesome. So you both are using a book, and then you're leading a book club, right?
That's not for kids, but
right?
yes.
It's not for kids, but you both are using the same book,
Yes.
and we're encouraging adults, parents, everybody to kind of read this book too through the Sermon on the Mount series. So what's the book?
What If Jesus Was Serious?
Yeah.
by Skye Jethani.
Yeah, it's really good. And apparently he knows about us because he retweeted us recently.
Yeah.
Donna. That was kind of cool.
Does
Put
that
you on
make
the
us
spot.
famous? Yeah.
That's really cool. And so that's what a lot of this is based on. So if you want to jump in with your kids, whether it's on the digital kit, right, for students, or the actual physical kit with the kids, then you can engage that book. You can read it. You can get it on Kindle. You can get it in your hand. It's not audible yet, and I don't think it will. It's got cool little doodles in it. So
you would miss that if it was
totally,
audible. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so that's really cool. But once we're finished, right, we're going to finish this, head into Christmas. So Christmas with COVID, I don't even want to go there. But the future is going to happen. So we're going to adjust this. Hopefully there's a vaccine. Hopefully things get back to a semblance of normal. I know people don't like the term new normal, but that's what it's going to be. What's kids ministry going to look like as we move into the future?
That's the question, isn't it? I think that for us, it's going to continue to look like some of these resources that go out to families. What I'm hearing from families and it's really exciting is that they're taking their resources and they're inviting their friends, their neighbors to come do that with them. And so I want to continue that because I think that's what we're about. It's not about everything we do in the church, it's what we're doing outside of the church. And so I think it will continue to be finding ways to resource families to continue discipling their kids at home as much as they can. But we'll be here too for them.
Yeah, as a resource.
As a resource always.
Awesome. Yeah. What about student ministry? What's your theory, at least, what it's going to look like in the future?
Yeah, so who knows what happens with the virus, whether it gets worse or it gets better. That will change everything, obviously.
Right.
But I think especially what we're seeing with student ministry is it's going to be kind of a mixed bag of that digital and in-person. And so the hope, at least, or what I'm looking forward to, is kind of doing like almost trickle-down teaching is kind of how I'm thinking of it in my head. Is kind of where we have some college students who might do some things to help high schoolers do some things to help middle schoolers. Right. A lot of this being through the digital content, whether it's videos or if we're just telling short stories about what's going on in their lives that maybe applies to someone else's life. So really trying to use that digital space as much as we can through, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of those things the best we can. Because as things get better or worse, I think that digital content's always going to be around. Yeah. It's going to be the thing that's not going to stop and that people are going to look a little bit closer for, especially as some parents who may have not been used to that before have been forced to get used to that over the last few months. Right. And so the better we can use that space to not just give information to students, but to have students help disciple other students, or even eventually parents disciple their students, whether it's in college or high school or middle school.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I hear you guys saying a lot about discipleship, which I of course I love. But the thing I keep hearing though is this is not the discipleship is a team effort. It's our responsibility, not the churches, not the pastors, not just the parents. We're all working in this together. The parents, obviously, I've got kids too. I discipled my kids. I tried my best, but I love the fact that I had resources and help to do that along the way. And these things are what it looks like. So the church in the future, man, has left the building, right? That's what we keep talking about. The church of the future has left the building, which I think it always was supposed to. I think this was always supposed to be a warehouse, a place where we gather up things, we get resources, we train each other, and then we go out and we take the good news to the world. That's what Jesus did. That's what we want to do. So you guys are on top of it. That's awesome. I love that. So hopefully you guys look at this stuff, right? You see this stuff. Pay attention to the digital spaces. If they want to get one of these kits and they don't regularly come, how do I get one of these kits? Yeah.
Contact the church office. Contact me, Christy at Beaver Creek Christian, and I can hook you up.
Right on. So you can get those pretty easily. All you got to do is ask, and we'll get it to you. We'll even deliver, I hear.
We do.
That's awesome. And so the digital content, that's easy. Turn your phone on, right? and one of the things that keeps sticking out at me is that formation doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intentionality. Whether it's digitally, we don't let that stuff form us. We form it. We don't just let Jesus happened by osmosis. We intentionally go in and try to do this, and that's what these kids are about, and that's what this whole thing's about. So that's awesome. So any last words that you give, any encouragement that you want to give parents, that you want to give the church as we finish?
Well, I think from students, especially to get that digital content as well, social media is always great. Or just email me. We've got some PDFs of all our devotionals that we're doing. So parents, if you want to follow along with the students and see those, just reach out to me. I can send them to you. Or if you're not subscribe to the MailChimp list. That's always a great way. We send out stuff every week. And especially with those devotionals, I'm going to start sending those out every Monday to all of the parents on our list, just so they have it. And hopefully we'll interact with their kids with it. But then I think as an encouragement and just kind of the future going forward is, this has been a crazy time for all of us. We've been adjusting. We've been trying to change things. There's a lot of people that don't love change, and that's okay. We've kind of been thrust into this situation where we have to adapt and change. But I think as a church body, when I look at BCC and how it's adapted to this,
right.
I've been here almost a year now, getting very close to a year.
Wow, has it been a year?
It's really close to a
awesome.
year. And about half of it has been in the pandemic. So.
Yeah, right.
But as I look at BCC and how it's adapted as a church body, as a student ministry, as a kids ministry, you guys are doing it. You're rocking this change, and you guys are doing an amazing job at it. And so as either the pandemic or upcoming other crazy things that might swing punches at us,
2020, right?
Yeah, 2020, exactly. Just keep adapting and just continue to have that spirit of change that kind of Jesus is giving us right now, and kind of forcing us to be like, hey, now you really got to have some faith in me, because look out, here's 2020, and who knows what the last 3 months are going to give us. So just keep going. You guys are doing an amazing job, and just stay connected. Keep connected with us. If you just need a prayer, reach out. We'll talk to you. It doesn't matter.
I don't think I can say it better. That was a good word, Nate. Good job.
Yeah. All right. See you guys. Go in peace.